I'm going to talk about a couple projection methods. A lot of you are using projectors out there, and I'd like to make you aware of some of the things that will make it either a success or not. And there's some real problems with it, and some people just don't even think about them. So as I point out some of these things, maybe you can have a better outcome. So I'm going to talk about the opaque projector projecting on the wall, and I'm going to talk about the one that is projecting onto the table, straight down. An opaque projector is something that's very commonly used. There are some problems. Obviously there's some advantages, and many of you are probably using it out there. But I want to let you know that it isn't the answer to everything, and if you're not careful, it can actually be causing you more problems than it's actually worth. And so I want you to look at this, because this is a projector that has some of the inherent problems. I have a floppy lens out here. I have this thing that isn't level. If you have a level, let's start off with that and just go ahead and shim this up in the front. You might have several things that you want to have at your disposal so that I can see that this is somewhat level. Now I still have a lens that is angling down, and there's problems with that. I'm going to just pick something out of my pocket here. It happens to be my nail clipper, and I'm going to just stick it in there so that I hopefully have this thing at a right angle to the little wall. Now, if it was hanging down or this wasn't level, it's very possible that the projection would be wider or narrower at the top or the bottom. And this is going to mean you're going to have a distortion. You're going to have something skewed in your actual image. Some of those things aren't apparent until you get to drawing. And so you don't want to have a head that is larger than it should be on the top and a chin that is narrower than it should be at the bottom, or vice versa. And so you really want to be careful of that. Also, you want this thing to be at right angle with the wall, because otherwise if I'm over here, I'm going to end up by having the same problem. One side is going to be wider or narrower than the other. And the same thing if I'm over on this side. So I really want to have something. Maybe you can get a square or something and make sure that you have everything lined up. It's one of the major problems with it. You remember that this is the picture that I was working with in a couple of the other demonstrations initially for my reference, and this is the other thing. We need to be able to now get something that's even smaller, because we're going to have to accommodate the projector that's going to enlarge it at its scale, and also we won't have near as much versatility unless we do a whole lot of horsing around here. And we're going to have to move the camera back, the projector back, and we're going to have to move it closer to try and get a focus. And so there are some limitations. I think I have this thing, at about a size we can work with, but sometimes you almost have to go with what the projector gives you. You won't necessarily have all of the options that you might wish. So let's go ahead and turn the lights out. Oh, let's go ahead and put this picture in here. Take this down now. We know it's level. And I'm going to put a piece of paper behind it. So that it gives it a little more opacity. And another thing about an opaque projector is it's got a bulb in there. It's kind of like the old slide projectors. It gets quite hot, and you can actually have things starting to bow. Paper doesn't take well to heat, and it actually starts having a wave to it. And the more that is happening inside your projector, the more distortion you're going to end up with your projection. And so some of the things you start out with may not necessarily be what you end up with, and it's so minute you don't realize it until you try to make that picture look like what you want, and now you have problems trying to get the right proportions, and you have distortions that you don't know what to do with. So let's go ahead and turn out the lights and see if we can go ahead and give you a couple more tips. Okay, now one of the things with the projector is the brighter the bulb inside and the darker the room, the better projection. Obviously you're not going to be able to do too much usually with the projector. It's going to be the bulb that comes with it or is used in that. So I want to make sure that if I can do it in a room that I've had the curtains pulled, is dark, I want you to be careful that you have it as dark as you can. And I also have a light down here. I can put it anywhere, but I want to be able to have that so that I will be able to see what I'm drawing. When every once in a while I can check and make sure that I've actually drawn parts that I may have thought I did but I didn't, and also to see if I need to line it back up, because one of the things that's inherent with a projector, again, is the image can move around as the paper warps, and it's ever so slightly, but I want to be able to make sure my drawing's still on. So I can take a light and point it away so that I can still see the projection and the light, and it gives me an opportunity to try to line up my lines again if it happens to get off. The problem is I have to be able to tape it to the wall, and that is something that when people are doing this, they don't think about the fact that they need to be able to move their picture and check every once in a while to see if it's still lined up. Again, we want to position this thing properly on here. You know, like we talked about, have a little more room at the bottom, try and have it centered left and right with this being such a symmetrical picture. And I don't want to push too hard. I have a textured wall, and so anything that's a texture underneath, if I'm not careful, will make my lines a little bumpy. But you can draw very lightly. Now I've got to go ahead and make sure that I've got this focused, and I'll take my little wedge out of here and hopefully take some horsing around. Oh, I keep saying horsing around. Some of you may not even know what I'm talking about, horsing around. So take some trial and error, but I can try to get this thing as focused as possible. It isn't a very good, dependable method, and yet it might give you some of you that are just beginning at least a place to start. So again, we can start working towards some of the things that we're going to start watching for and exercising, so that gradually you can challenge yourself even more and more and more. This might be something that you can cut down to just having it for the top, the bottom, the width. Make sure where you're going to put your eyes, just put points there if you want to. You can do as little as you want, and then have a chance to freehand the rest of it in there. At least it gives you a relationship size-wise that you know you want to do. So what you want to be able to do in here, and this isn't very sharp, I really wish I had a sharper image, but I want you to do what I was talking about. Let's see, which demonstration was it? Anyway, when you put a line on here, I want you to choose the dark part first. I'm going to put my glasses on. I want you to go to the eyes, and I want you to put the pencil in the dark part. Outline anything you want, as little or as much as you want, but make sure as much as you can you put it on the dark side. If I have skin here and the darker iris there, I'm going to put the line in the iris. If I have a white of the eye and the dark of the iris, I want to put the line on the edge of the iris. Because again, one of the principles that I want you to think about when we're drawing is we're going to come out to a line, that guideline, and make it an edge to value. That's really important to remember, because otherwise if you start going and outlining and putting it into white, and you put this one in the white, suddenly the white becomes smaller and smaller. And in some cases you can almost eliminate it altogether, and then your irises are a little bigger than they should be, because we're going to come out to those lines with our value. And so that's something to really take into consideration. There is an exception. When you have something like this, we're going to do a white background, but when you have a situation like this where you have a light skin or a light value next to the background, then you're going to have to go ahead and put it in the light area. And I want you to put your pencil down on the paper. This is what I suggest. Put it onto the paper and leave it on the paper for as long as you can with each stroke. Don't come in here and go la 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 like we usually do when we're sketching. We have a tendency to do a lot of hairy strokes. And so if you do that, you're not going to be able to identify and make sure that you've got something you can count on for a guideline. And this isn't the answer to everything, because you're still going to have to find your way back after you lose your way. But see, keep it on there. When I'm coming alongside of the face, try to keep it on the paper. Don't come down here and go like this, because when you get back in the light again, you're going to try and figure out which of those lines is the one that I intended to be the guideline. And it's really going to be hard. So we can come in here and identify everything you can, and then when you get into the light, you can go ahead and interpret what you've documented here. And again, you can put as much or as little as you want, depending on what level you are. And choose the dark, and then choose to put your pencil on. I got a darker pencil to make sure you can see it. But then we're going to look at this, and we're going to make sure what I've drawn. Now let's just pretend I thought I drew the other eye, but I haven't. Now I know that I need to do that. If I point this away and this picture is shifted, I want to take the opportunity to take this off, and I'm going to start with my eyes first when I'm drawing. I'm going to do both eyes. Get this one over here. These are the first things I do, even though I was just showing those other things for other examples. But the first thing I do, or I want you to do, is to draw the eyes. Because this is going to give you a chance to have something to get back on track if indeed your image moves a little bit. It goes out of focus and you have to refocus. You're going to have a chance now to loosen this up and move it back so that you can see the drawing and the projection and move it back in line. And then, because it gives us an opportunity to tilt it this way and up and down and sideways and whatever. It's about everything you need. So I like to do that first. Make sure that these are still on when you come down here. You can show where the nostrils are. Anything that you can see. If you see a highlight like this, go ahead and document that, just like you've seen. I want to document that, and regardless of the method I use, because I want to have that as a target area. That lighter apex is what I want to work towards and fade away towards. You can go ahead and, again, get some of the general things. If you're going to do any hair at all, it's just to go ahead and show the direction, maybe the length, some of the hairline. Just don't get in here and show a solid line around here where you think the hair is. It's really difficult to undo that and show a natural hairline. Don't come out here and just go like this for an outline for the hair, because it's usually the wrong direction for the hair. It's better for you to come in here and use an open stroke. This is the one time I suggest you go ahead and open the stroke and take your individual strokes like I just told you not to do for the rest of it, because now you have a chance to integrate that into the regular direction of the hair you're going to have. So those are some of the things I'd like you to take into consideration. Same thing with the eyebrows. You don't want to just outline the eyebrows. It's better to come in here and now take a few strokes. Anything that's a hairy area or is a texture that you can get away with demonstrating like this, then go ahead and take your strokes. Anything else, stay on there and make sure that you know exactly what you tried to represent here. You know exactly what the line represents. So those are just some pointers for the opaque projector on the wall. It's not my favorite. I don't like to use it, and I know a lot of people are out there with the idea that, well, I had a chance to get started with this, and then they run into all kinds of problems and they can't figure out, I can't even make the projector work, let alone draw, and they get all discouraged. With the right instruction and some of the things to watch for, I think you can improve regardless of the method you're using. So that's just a little bit about opaque projectors.